Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids, to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Real Life Real Crime Daily for Wednesday, February 8th, 2023. I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Woody Overton.
And I'm Mike Agovino. Guys, how we feeling today?
Feeling pretty good.
Doing pretty good.
Those eyes are looking white. I don't see the red anymore.
I have chronic red eye. It's not from smoking weed or drinking too much.
The 3-day recovery from sassafras?
Yeah, sassafras and another successful crew bash, right? And thank y'all both for coming. It was awesome.
It was Woody bash, actually, because no one got bashed harder than Woody over the 2 nights. So.
You got that right.
3 nights because I went Thursday.
Well, you had to warm up. That doesn't count. That's just warm up. That's
prepare the liver.
I've been training. I've been in training for the whole year for that.
That's right.
Failure to prepare is preparing to fail.
Absolutely.
Go. Well, we're going to start off today talking about an All Woody team member, our second All Woody team member who had quite a busy week last week and also had himself quite a Monday yesterday as we are sitting here Tuesday taping.
This dude needs to warm up the short bus for the penitentiary and get his cell ready.
Yeah, I think they are warming up that bus. But let's take you through just a quick recap of the happenings from last week. That'll lead us into what happened yesterday, because a very big decision in the trial was made by the judge yesterday that's based on a lot of testimony that was given last week, but testimony that was given without the jury present, and we'll talk about that.
And we're talking about the Murdaugh case, y'all.
Oh, did I not say his name?
You never said. That's okay. I got your back, Mike.
All Woody team number 2, Alex Murdaugh.
Alex Murdaugh.
Everybody says his name. It's Alec. It's Alex. It's Murdaugh. It's Murdaugh.
Well, it's going to be strange. Inmate number 111.
He'll be going by a number soon, and that won't matter. Well, just to recap, Alex, 54 years old, is standing trial in the shootings of his 52-year-old wife, Maggie, and his 22-year-old son, Paul, and those murders happened on June 7th of 2021. The disgraced former lawyer is looking at 30 years to life in prison if convicted of the murders. Let's not forget all the stuff we have talked about from prior episodes in financial crimes that each contain different potential prison sentences, as well as on the civil side, more and more pain to his ever-shrinking wallet.
And that includes,
I don't know that there's anything left in that wallet.
That includes everything from his housekeeper that he collected insurance money on, and scamming his clients and keeping back money and giving them a smaller amount. It was just a real shitbag.
Yeah, so her son, Saddlefield, the former nanny housekeeper, her son testified. One of her sons testified last week, and Murdaugh went to him and his brother and told them each he'd get them $100,000.
And then he get like $3 million or something.
He got 4 points.
Right,
well, it's actually, there were two different things. So it was over $5 million. So he got $5 million and told them, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to get you $100,000 each. So, $100,000. And this was a pretty sweet, innocent kid that testified. So here are the key revelations from last week. I don't know that much will come of this, but both the prosecution and the defense had their go at a video that was taken of a distraught Murdaugh sitting with police after the murders, and he's crying hysterically. You'd be the judge when you listen to it about whether he was really crying or he's got a decent fake cry.
He's not going to win any Academy Awards.
But he, according to the officer that was with him at the time, the officer says that he said, "It's just so bad. I did him so bad," referring to his son, Paul. The defense, or the prosecution, played this at regular speed. They played it at 1/3 speed because the defense is saying he didn't say I, he said they.
Right.
And when you listen to it at the different speeds, to me, it sounds like I don't think it's going to matter a whole hell of a lot in this case, but it was something they went back and forth a lot on.
It's definitely I, and the defense is doing what the defense's job. They're praying, they're throwing shit against the wall and hoping something will stick. They're praying one juror says, "Oh, he didn't say I."
Yep.
Two important witnesses last week were friends of Paul's. A gentleman by the name of Rogan Gibson, who's a lifelong friend of Paul's, and a guy by the name of Will Loving, who was a roommate and friend from Columbia of Paul's. Now, Rogan was an important witness because Rogan had Paul taking care of his dog. So there was a kennel on the Murdaugh property. There was something wrong with Rogan Gibson's dog's tail that Paul had been keeping him in the kennel and taking care of him and working on that. And where this becomes really critical, really key, is that Paul takes a video of the dog. So the video is camera pointed at the dog. You don't see any full human in the video. You see a little bit of Paul's leg, and that's about it. But you hear three voices. So Paul is taking this video, and he's taking this video in order to give Rogan a look at his dog and kind of an assessment of how the dog is doing. And this video was taken just minutes before the police allege was a time of murder, right? So the video was taken at 8:44, and the murders are believed to have taken place at 8:50. Right. And the key piece of the video is that there are three voices on that video. There's Paul's voice, there's Maggie's voice, and then there's a third voice. Can you guess whose voice the third voice was?
I can tell you that the first two voices are no longer with us on this mortal plane.
That is correct. And the third voice, Jim?
Alex.
Winner, winner, winner. chicken dinner. So the third voice was identified by Rogan in his testimony as, I'm 100% certain that is Alex's voice.
Right.
Then they played it in double slow motion and said, does it sound like his voice now?
Then Paul's other friend and roommate, Will Loving, took the stand, and Will Loving also, with 100% certainty, identified that third voice as Alex's. Why is this key? This is key because Alex's story from the night of the murders is that they had dinner together, he, Maggie, Paul, that he was tired and went and took a nap after dinner.
Yeah, he's full of shit.
So in his story, he didn't ever go to the kennels.
Right.
Well, unfortunately for him, his son was pretty active on his mobile phone and took a lot of video and sent it to friends. So we have a major contradiction, and the prosecution, through these testimonies, can place, or is trying to place, Alex at the scene of the murder just minutes before the actual murders take place. So that's pretty damning circumstantial evidence.
I would agree. And there should be, the law states should be no more weight given to circumstantial evidence than direct evidence and the totality of circumstances. This can be circumstantial, but it's a great piece of circumstantial. Not for Alex.
I was amazed by this this next piece of evidence, which Woody, I'm sure you'll have some experience to fall upon and provide to us here. But the police have not found either of the murder weapons. So just to recap, Maggie was killed with one kind of weapon, and Paul was killed with a different kind of weapon. And so the police are looking for two different weapons. The police ballistics expert, it's an agent last name Croft, was able to match shell casings that were found around Maggie's body with shell casings that were found around the Murdaugh shooting range, which they have sort of just a made up, the property's so big, they have an area that they used as a shooting range. And so they're able to with certainty say that the weapons, the weapon, even though they don't have it, the weapon that killed Maggie, that there's a match between the striations on the shells of stuff on the driving range to what's by her body.
Right, and that's basically firearm DNA. Okay, each weapons manufacturer has its own unique, distinct, what they call barrel grooves. If you're lucky enough to find the actual lead piece or of the round, they could do it that way. But also, even on the spent casing, they can tell from where the hammer, believe it or not, hits the round before it explodes, and then also they can tell. They can match that brass with a certainty to a certain weapon, period. Better than a fingerprint. And Murdaugh's problem is going to be explaining, well, I don't know where these are at, or never any of our weapons. Well, guess what? On my dad's place, we have a firing range also. And I don't want them to ever go back out there and dig through shit if I kill somebody. And as far as the weapons being missing, you better believe if they didn't search for them that night and didn't find them that night, and I'm this guy, I'm dropping one piece off in Louisiana we have parish, but I'm going all through South Carolina. Every pond, every bayou, every river is getting a different piece of a different one of these weapons, and they would have been cut up into a million different pieces. He's not totally stupid, okay? I mean, he already had a plan to get rid of these weapons.
Yes, he did. The other evidence that came out last week that was really fascinating to me was mobile phone evidence. And, we saw in the Idaho murders the benefit of GPS tracking and how we're able to look at the movements made over a period of time by someone. What was really fascinating here was the presentation of evidence coming out of both Maggie and Paul's phones that go beyond just geolocation kind of evidence. Right. And so with both of their phones, both of their phones ceased any meaningful activity at 8:49 p.m., which is largely how police came to their conclusion that that was the time of the murder, 8:50, right? So both of these phones, stop the sort of regular movement that you would normally see. Maggie's phone had a phone log that showed a bunch of calls coming from Alex between so starting with earlier in that night through the hour up to about an hour after the murders, right? When police got Alex's phone, his call log did not match hers. Now, some time went by. So this is another one of those things where the more time goes by, the more evidence disappears. Right. He wasn't an official suspect from the get-go, so they don't ask for his phone for a period of time, and over that period of time, it looks like he starts covering some tracks. And so his phone log is missing a bunch of those calls to Maggie. In fact, his phone log is absent a big chunk of time from that evening.
Imagine that.
The defense is trying to present the Murdaugh family as a big, happy family, that there was lots of love between Alex and Maggie, lots of love between Alex and Paul, and they use some video from actually earlier in that day, the day of the murder, June 7th, where Alex and Paul are touring the land, the 1,700 acres they have there, and looking in on some trees they had planted sometime earlier. And you're able to listen to the way they talk to each other, and the banter is very, very friendly, and it sounds like a father and son that have a very strong, loving relationship.
If I'm going to kill my son, and I already planned it out, then I'm certainly going to want some video, or we're riding around looking at the trees we planted, which we have trees planted, but I'm going to do everything I can, if I'm smart enough, to make sure I have this kind of evidence of the loving father-son relationship. But in my mind, he'd be dead.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that would also provide the prosecution with evidence as to what clothing you were wearing earlier in the day if you were Alex. And so remember, when the police get to the crime scene, Alex is in this white T-shirt. There's no blood on his hands. There's no blood on his clothing. He's sweating profusely, but there's no gunshot residue, and we have the whole thing back and forth with Bevel that testifies about the residue on the T-shirt, and so you have another video from 7:39 that night that shows Murdaugh wearing the different clothes, the clothes that he had changed into. So what happened with his original clothes? During cross-examination, Murdaugh, one of Murdaugh's attorneys, Jim Griffin, asked questions about Murdaugh's character to a number of different witnesses and mentions the 2019 boat crash case. And who knows how much discussion the defense had about this up front, whether they were concerned at all that mentioning the 2019 boat crash could have some adverse effects. But the fact that they brought up the 2019 boat crash opened the door up for the state to do the same. And so they had been working so hard to prevent the state from being able to admit any evidence of his financial crimes, while for the state, their primary objective was to prove a motive. And the motive that they were looking to prove was the financial trouble that Alex was in. And so all of this led to a weekend of speculation where basically folks analyzed what happened last week and said, if the judge rules that this stuff is admissible, these prior financial crimes are admissible, then the judge is going to give prosecutors the case because, as everyone knows from what we've outlined in prior episodes, there is so much stuff there.
And I would say on that was a shocking mistake by the defense to even bring that up. And I say shocking because you got to remember, y'all, these defense lawyers are not public defenders. These are extremely high paid, the best defense you can buy in South Carolina. And they made what I consider a fatal mistake, and that is bringing up something that then the prosecution can exploit.
Yeah, and I have two thoughts on that. One is they just screwed up. Two, they did it knowing that they would have a chance on appeal for ineffective counsel, an error that they should have never brought it in.
Well, we will see if that ends up happening, but the experts across various networks and crime websites, et cetera, are unanimous in the thought that if the judge came in and ruled that all of that evidence was admissible, because remember, all of those testimonies occurred without the jury in the courtroom, that if they're deemed admissible, then Alex is in a heap load of trouble.
And the reason why is because it's 12 regular people on a jury who have never ripped their housekeeper off for $5 million or however much it was, much less all the other people they ripped off. And now what you're going to have is a bunch of pissed off regular Joes and Joettes, I guess you would call them, females, and they are going to want them to pay regardless.
And it speaks to motive.
Yes.
Absolutely. And so yesterday morning, the judge ruled, Judge Clifton Newman ruled that
we need a button to push.
The financial crimes testimony is admissible. And again, the pundits that are looking at this case last night were unanimous in that with that ruling having been made, we're on a short path, probably early next week, maybe even as early as Friday of this week, that the case would end up back with the jury, but that there's a mountain of this financial evidence and it's going to be awfully hard to overcome.
I believe that at this point, his defense attorneys may be even trying to get him a deal, and the prosecution's like, that bus is left, and your bus is going to be leaving for the penitentiary.
But,
Bluebird
special.
But Alex, you can take pride in being the second member of the all-Woody team. So if there's
Alex,
anything to think about on the ride,
you can cancel Christmas for the rest of your life.
Oh my God.
All right, now let's get to the best story of the day.
All right, let's do it.
This is Jim's favorite story.
My favorite story. I've been following this since the beginning. You're right, y'all. the China balloon. We're about to talk about it. Sit up in your chair, pull over your car, park in the Walmart parking lot, whatever you got to do to listen to this story of the Chinese balloon. So, unless you live under a rock or you were at the Crew Bash this weekend, you may or may not be aware of the China balloon that had made its way across the United States, spying as it went. And so we're going to tell you a little bit about it just in case you don't know. There was a massive white orb, as it were. It basically looked like a giant hot air balloon that was floating across the United States. And it was rather large, y'all. This thing was the size of 3 school buses. And it drifted across the U.S. airspace this past week. Eventually, it got shot down by the Air Force. Now, a lot of people that I saw commenting on this are, you saw everything from what's the big deal to the memes galore that were coming out. And I saw a bunch of pictures of people who had wrote in marks a lot, "This is not a Chinese balloon," and "Don't shoot it down," and things like that, poking fun at it. But this is actually serious business, y'all. Now, China, in only the way China would do, insists that this was not a spy balloon. They're like, look, here's the deal. This was an errant weather balloon that went off course. It had no steering capability, or limited at least, and it was just for meteorological research. This was not to spy on the United States. It just so happened that it flew over the United States. Now, it kind of pissed them off, though, that we were calling this a spy balloon. And they basically said, and as a matter of fact, the Chief Ministry of Foreign Affairs went as far as to be quoted as saying that it was an obvious overreaction and a serious violation of international practice, and they are reserving the right to take further action in response.
You know what? Let's float one over their asses.
Yeah, exactly. But they didn't like that. So the United States came back and they said, look, this is a spy balloon. Okay. Without a doubt, Secretary of State Antony Blinken canceled a trip to China, and that wasn't a party or anything. He was going there to try to dial down tensions between the two countries. Well, how can you do that when you're flying, giant spy balloons all across the United States? So the Pentagon, they basically looked into this. In the balloon, they say was carrying sensors and surveillance equipment. It was, in fact, maneuverable, even though China says it wasn't, and showed it could change course. And how they know that, y'all, it didn't just appear in the United States. They were kind of slick about it. What they did was they sent the balloon over Canada, floated it, then it came into the United States. And I don't know why Canada didn't come out, initially and say, there's a balloon out here, but you hadn't heard a whole big response from Canada when it hit their airspace.
Well, they spend about 12 cents on defense.
In the airspace that hit over, the airspace that hit over them was probably zooming in on some moose ass.
Yeah, unless it was unless a gigantic Labatt's bottle.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or a hockey
maple syrup.
Yeah,
they're stealing the recipe for maple syrup.
We love our Canucks, by the way.
We do. We love our Canadian fans.
Sorry, y'all got spied on.
So the Pentagon, was tracking this thing. It was loitering over some sensitive areas in Montana. Now, this is where it's actually important, y'all. We have nuclear warhead silos all over the state of Montana, and it was kind of hanging out over there. It didn't just pass by, going 35. It kind of hung out around Montana, and it's, I'm sure, taking many, many pictures of those nuclear silos. And that's something of concern. All joking aside, that's a major problem. I don't want anybody knowing, number one, where the silos are. And even if they know where they're at, I sure don't want them knowing the operation of those. I don't, with equipment nowadays, camera equipment, stuff like that, they might have some sort of technology where they can actually see through the silo. I don't know. So that was where the major problem came in. Now, you may wonder, why didn't they shoot this thing down the second they saw it? Because they actually let it float all across the United States before they shut it down.
United States.
The whole United States.
They actually knew about it when it was over Alaska. Before
that's part of the. Are you saying that's not part of the United States?
That was before it even entered Canada. So unless a lot's changed since the last time I went to Alaska, there's a decent amount of open land / ice where they could have brought that puppy down. So they had the first chance to do something with it over Alaska, and for some reason, which I haven't heard a good answer to,
there's not.
They didn't do anything about it, and then it came through Canada, where
there was a former.
They signed off on it.
Yeah, I agree. And there, just a little sidebar on that. There is a former vice presidential candidate that could see Russia from her house. I don't know if you remember that.
True.
And it wasn't Walter Mondale.
I'm a big Sarah Palin fan.
Oh, I love me some Sarah Palin.
Hey, Sarah Palin, shout out if you want to come on the show.
Take shots at Sarah. I love Sarah. Love her. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when we get to the shoot down part, I have some thoughts on it.
A lot of people on Facebook and all your social media outlets where people were seeing all of this in real time were saying, why don't they just shoot the thing down? Well, it's just what I told you at the beginning. It's not. You're not talking about a balloon from your house that you blew up with helium. This thing is enormous. It's three bus lengths long and wide, and it's a big orb. And they didn't want it to, obviously it's going to come down to high rate of speed. They didn't want it to land on somebody's house, crush their house, and all of that.
I think.
Are you saying you believe that?
I think it's a lot more than that. I think.
Well, it makes sense.
Once the pressure started coming out about it, and President Biden, however you feel about him or not, I don't care. But once it started ratcheting up in the news, and then certainly I wouldn't call them bean counters, but you got the think tanks who are now getting visual close from our fighters and our satellites and everything else, and they have identified, hey, this is a real deal. This thing's got more cameras than a movie set, right? But at the end of the time, then now it's gone 95% across the United States, and they come up with a plan to shoot it down. Here's the problem, people. If you think that balloon didn't have the most advanced technology camera-wise, if a satellite can read a beer can label from space that's in the desert, this thing had that. Now, I have a problem with that as an American because I walk around in my yard naked in the country, not in the city. Someone who isn't me may do that. I may do things that I don't want anybody to know about. And I damn sure don't want the Chinese coming back and blackmailing me for their spy balloon shit that should have been shot down as soon as it hit Alaska.
This just in. Woody Overton has been sighted naked by China.
Right? They might want to come pay me some money. I don't know, but the deal being is it should have never happened. They did it for a reason. I believe it's an escalation and an ongoing shit show between our countries, and it
is. And a lot of people have asked, and this is obviously a concern as well. So we do want to answer it about weapons, and no, the balloon did not have any sort of weapons on it or anything like that. They've confirmed that. As a matter of fact, that was Brigadier General Pat Ryder, who is the Pentagon press secretary, that answered that question and said it was not a physical threat by any means. It was just basically a balloon that was wanting to access sensitive information, via flying over.
The other problem with the information,
Woody's house while he's naked.
The information part is, you better believe that balloon could transmit back. They're not just going to float it up there and hope that one day it comes back to China. We're going to download all the information. They got that shit in real time.
It's not a hard drive.
So whatever you were doing outside,
they blew it up.
Like Woody Overton,
yeah, they definitely.
I'm pretty sure your shit got violated, and that's why we're talking about on the crime show, because it's a fucking crime that they did it, and it's a fucking crime that it didn't get stopped before it got to Louisiana.
I would agree
or wherever
with that.
You live.
Yes, and you may wonder how they shot it down. Well, our F-22 fighter jets are the best in the world, and
smoked them like a pack of Cool.
Smoked them like that guy was excited. Right. You got to go shoot a balloon.
Got to kill.
It's not going to lock on you. You ain't got to worry about pulling no Top Gun maneuvers. It's a one-man operation. So he flies out there from Langley Air Force Base at an altitude of 58,000 feet, fires a AIM Sidewinder right into it.
Right.
Imagine that.
They got to release that video.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit better.
They have. They showed it.
About it.
I saw it. It's very entertaining.
I got to go look that up.
So he shoots that puppy, and it's about 10 feet long and weighs 200 pounds. Shoom, shoots through the air, knocks the hot air balloon, and it slowly falls to Earth. Now, you may wonder, has this...
Hey, ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore, because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone support and supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC. Hey y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glace, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, and all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We've got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gobble will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin-baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/real life. That's GOBBLE.com/real life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had.
Ever happened before in the history of mankind.
I want to know how much that missile costs.
Probably wasn't cheap.
A couple million. Yeah.
I think it was more than a bottle rocket.
Really?
Sorry.
You think so?
Yeah, very expensive.
It's definitely more than a bottle rocket.
And then the jet fuel to chase it down, and plus all the think tanks that spend all the time and everything else. Yeah, I'm pretty sure China just got us out about $500 million. I'm sorry.
Well, the whole strategy, wouldn't it be funny if the whole strategy was to get our missile capabilities down? So they figured that's one less missile we got to worry about, boys.
Yeah. Or
we're going to fly a balloon every day until they're out of missiles.
Or they wanted some more information on that specific missile.
Yes, exactly. So again, you may be wondering, is this a new thing? Has it occurred before? And actually it has. And I had to laugh at the response of the Biden administration on this. They went as far as to say this has actually happened in their administration, But they also, prior to, but they also mentioned it's happened 3 times in the Trump administration. They had to throw that in there. Yeah, it's happened once with us, but 3 times when Trump was in office.
Hey, we don't do politics. We're just reporting the facts.
That's it. So the former, actually, Mike Pompeo, who was the former Secretary of State, came out and said, that never happened in the Trump administration. Dude. I don't know if he said the dude part. But
I believe that officials have corrected the record on that. There were 3 prior situations where there was limited flight over U.S. territory, but it never got to the point where it was even raised to a level where any of those people in the administration, back in the Trump administration, were even made aware of it.
Right.
So, and similarly, I think there was one near Hawaii during Biden's tenure that he wasn't made aware of because it was sort of a glancing kind of thing, not a 4,500 mile route clear across the United States within range of a number of major air bases and everything.
No doubt.
Here's my only thing on this is this.
Wait, let me say this before you get to that point.
Okay.
I have no doubt that if Trump had been in office and this balloon would have flown over, he would have shot it down in a second and called him Rocket Boy and everything else that he does. You know, Trump ain't gonna let no Chinese balloon fly over the United States.
If they have one over us, the next day we would have had 25 over China.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not doing politics.
Our balloons are bigger than your balloon.
Yeah.
Well,
We're going to find your Woody Overton in China running around naked.
we might possibly have had an overreaction, and we might be looking today at
It would have been
underreaction.
a big Trump balloon. For like an advertisement flying over China.
A big red balloon with a fake MAGA hat on it.
Make balloons great again.
But why does everything have to be so weird? I mean, why can't stuff just make sense? Because the weirder it is, the more crazy conspiracy theories come flying out of every corner. The stuff I read on Twitter on this thing, you can tell, folks, I don't like this story that much, but it's just nuts. I mean, it looks like we could have easily taken it down over Alaska. Why did we take it down over Alaska? I don't know. A lot of people think that maybe the government thought that that it would not be detected by anyone, and they really wanted Blinken to make this trip to China. And if there was a big to-do around the balloon, the trip would be canceled. That's one plausible. But why are we having to theorize? Why can't – and then Biden came out and said, I decided on Wednesday we were going to shoot it down. But the general said, no, we need to wait until it crosses the rest of the country and gets over water. Well, I mean –
I'm pretty sure every airplane I've ever flown in and all across the United States, there's hours worth of just farmland.
Yeah, and it's not like this. It's not like this debris field was 300 miles wide. It was
it's not like this, but when the space shuttle blew.
So there's always something fishy, even when there isn't anything fishy actually going on. It's like the Paul Pelosi thing. It happened, and it happened the way probably they all say it happened. It's just the reporting was so weird that people, end up coming up with big theories around it. It's nuts.
There's a reason you're hearing about it on Real Life, Real Crime Daily, because it's a crime. I personally feel violated, and it's pretty interesting also. I just can't imagine the shit that they got by hook or crook, the stuff they want to get and all the incidental stuff they got. Well, hey, that should be video voyeurism or whatever. They should arrest somebody for that.
Well, we need to turn to a story with meat.
Yes.
And Woody, there's a story out of France that has plenty of meat on the bone that I think you want to talk about.
This is absolutely crazy. Okay. So this guy self-titled himself this. We're not saying this, right? We didn't give him this name, but the Black Alien, who mutilated his body says restaurants refuse to serve him. So one French man who calls himself the Black Alien after mutilating his body with various surgeries, tattoos, and other procedures says restaurants are scared to serve him because of his extreme because of his appearance, y'all. You got to see this. This dude has his nose surgically removed. He has like implants put in where his eyebrows should be. I mean, he looks like a black alien. And I mean, obviously he probably was a white male. He now his head's dyed and he's got all of these markings and everything on him. And if I saw this dude in a restaurant, I'm fucking leaving, right? So I can imagine what the restaurant said. But despite claiming that he's just a normal guy, he says restaurants are afraid to open their doors for him. He said, I would say, like they say, not to judge a book by its cover. I would say judge all you want when it comes to this guy. Somebody else said it. He said, if I was working at a restaurant and he walked in, I would hide under the counter. So I don't blame people for wanting to run away from him. So this guy's name is Lafredo, and he said he decided to embark on the extreme modifications of his body, y'all, as a ploy to gain self-confidence, and that his journey to become more alien-like, he has done just that. He said, it helps me to understand life, and I feel more like myself. All right, y'all. In addition to the extreme body modifications, you got to see this. If you don't see this picture, you'll never believe it. Lafredo, or however you say his name, has also sharpened his teeth, dyed them purple, and changed the color of his eyes numerous times, prompting some restaurants to refuse to serve him. Sometimes the servers say, I can eat on the terrace. All right. But lucky for Lafredo, he has said his mother is accepting of his transformation to become alien-like, despite noticeable judgment from his peers. Well, Real Life of Crime Daily like to come out along with Anthony's mom in both accepting his transformation and supporting his fight for his First Amendment rights. Well, guess what? He's not from America. See, basically, I say he can go fuck himself. I think we speak for all business in Denham Springs, Louisiana, when we say we'd be happy to serve you. We got to put that shit on social media. I don't know why this is a bigger story than the Chinese boy.
Look, first thing that comes to mind to me for this guy is, why wouldn't he just?
We need a before.
Why wouldn't he just, take on pronouns of black alien, and
right.
He identifies as a black alien, and since the entire United States population is welcoming people identifying as anything they want to identify as.
Yeah, well,
he should be good to go. He reminds me of what were they called? Remember the Slee Stack in what was that stupid? You don't remember that show when we were
Sleep Stack?
See, I say when we were kids. I'm older than these guys. Yeah. But shoot, what was the name of that? It was a Saturday morning thing where all these green alien guys, they were called Slee Stack.
You missed me on that one.
Okay, I may have.
But I can tell you this cat.
I remember. I know.
This guy had to spend $25,000 to $50,000 on this cosmetic surgery alone. I was being very conservative. Hey, homie, why couldn't you just buy a fucking mask? Then you wouldn't regret it later on. It's crazy.
Land of the Lost.
Land of the Lost. Yeah, I remember that show.
Look, you see, he does look like a Slee Stack a little bit. The eyes are a little bit different.
Yeah, I know, right? And it's just it takes all kinds to make the world go around. And I'm gonna tell you something. If I was a cop and I stopped this dude, he'd probably get shot.
I think we're going to be seeing
he's got sharp teeth.
More and more and more of this kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I hope he has his 2 seconds of fame. And I'm sorry, but if I own a restaurant in Denham Springs or anywhere else, that dude's not scaring my patrons.
Well, come over and visit Mike Black Alien. I think you're cool.
That story was weird.
Hey, he gives true meaning to has a face only a mama could love.
All right, a former Denham Springs police officer pleads guilty after he had an inappropriate relationship with a minor. Joseph Reed Copeland, 30, pled guilty on Monday, January 30th, to charges of carnal knowledge of a juvenile and malfeasance in office. He was actually admitted to having sex with the minor in his police cruiser. Of course, this is also a Denham Springs officer that just recently received an award as the Officer of the Year, had done some heroic things here locally in the Denham Springs area, and it has come out that he had sex with this minor inside his police cruiser. Now, this was, as you hear Woody say quite often, you can't submit to sex when you're a minor.
Right.
So to say it was consensual, technically, by the letter of the law, it can never be consensual when you're a minor. But let's just say the minor went along with it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, this guy's a piece of shit. And the day he won the Peace Officer of the Year award, I was actually the keynote speaker for that award ceremony, and that's where we give the Peace Officer of the Year award to the top state trooper in the parish, the top sheriff's deputies in the parish, and the top town officers in the parish. And yes, he won it. But when he got charged, he ran like a little bitch. I had bet money that he was going to off himself rather than go in. But once they caught up with him, he surrendered like a little bitch. And he used his position of power and authority to basically, they call it carnal knowledge, I call it rape, even if she consented, which she can't. Fuck him, and he's going to get what he's got coming to him.
Yeah, so the Copeland has been sentenced to 5 years with the Louisiana Department of Corrections, but it was all suspended and 3 years of probation for the charge of carnal knowledge of a juvenile. He has also been sentenced to 10 years with the Department of Corrections, which was suspended, and 3 years of probation for the charge of malfeasance in office. So essentially, he has to register as a sex offender for 15 years, and he will see no jail time, which caused some pretty major uproar here in the area with, at least on Facebook. People can't believe that this guy's not going to spend a day in jail.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to submit to you, he's applying really quick with the Department of Corrections parole division to get the fuck out of this parish. He wants to do his time somewhere where nobody knows him. But a little sweet baby face, and he looks like a kid, y'all. And
yeah, he looks like he's 23. He's 30.
Clean cut young kid. He knows he just missed it by the hair of his chinny chin because he'd gone to prison. It had been on for him.
Yeah, so after it became public that he was going to be arrested for this, he fled the state, ran to Texas.
Ran like a bitch.
They caught him in Texas. He did have weapons on him in Texas, including guns, bullets, all that sort of thing. So,
can you do what they did with the Heisman Trophy, where you take it back after?
Well, I'm sure they're not going through the formal process of it, but everybody knows he actually. They said he was a really good cop, but that, sheep and wolf's clothing. I mean, I know guys like that. Denny Perkins was one that come off as the best cop in the world, but the whole time they have an ulterior motive.
Well, I just don't know how you can look the public in the face, having not put this guy behind bars. I want to talk to you guys about something that I believe is the most serious crime being committed currently in the United States, and that is illegal immigration. And illegal immigration is a crime. That's why it's called illegal immigration. As silly as that sounds, it's amazing how many conversations you end up having with folks who don't see this as a crime.
Yeah.
But, and this is a crime commentary show, not a political podcast. And so I'm not attempting to inject any politics into the show. I'm just looking to share some facts, and
except for today.
It's amazing. No, it's just, it is amazing how little coverage from the mainstream media the situation at the U.S. southern border gets.
Shit. The only thing I want to show is the Border Patrol riding horses, herding out illegals coming across. And guess what? That's actually the way they train. And that media blew it up like they were abusing them and shit. I mean, my deceased father-in-law, Cindy's daddy, was head of the whole Border Patrol for South Texas. And I was going to the Border Patrol. That's what they train on.
Yeah. So
crowd control.
You're talking about the now completely debunked story of them whipping migrants.
Right.
We had some very high-ranking political people in the country talking about that and convicting them publicly before those border agents got their day in court, so to speak, which really their day in court was photographs that came from photojournalists that were there at the time, showing that there was no such thing that went on. But anyway, the issue of border protection and illegal immigration has really heated up in the time period since the midterms, and so the Republicans have taken over the House of Representatives, and this has been a big issue on that side of the aisle, and now they are trying to make it an issue that gets at least a lot more visibility and understanding across the country and across mainstream media. And so some numbers will really illuminate why that's the case. If you look at the last 3+ years, and I'm only talking about the southwestern U.S. border. So I'm not talking about people coming in from Canada at this point, and we're starting to hear stories about a lot of people coming through the northern border, but I'm just talking about the southern border. In 2020, 450,000 people approximately were encountered by Border Patrol at the southern border. In 2021, that number grew to 1.7 million. So 450,000 went to 1.7 million. In 2022, that number went to 2.4 million.
Y'all, Mike's not making these up. These are actual bookings that Border Patrol agents did.
2023, now there's a fiscal year. So the year is actually October through September. So the 2023 fiscal year began in October of 2022. So you've got 3-4 months of data in. And so far in 2023, there are 720,000, which would project to nearly 2.9 million by the end of the year. So 450,000 went to 1.7 million, went to 2.4 million, went to 2.9 million. So the illegal crossings today, 2023, are happening at 6 times the rate they were happening in 2020. That's people that have been captured. There's also
probably 10 times that amount that it didn't get captured.
Well, there's a category that they identify as known gotaways, meaning these are people that were seen, counted, but not apprehended, right?
Or they track their tracks and they can tell how many people it was and approximately they can tell everything from the tracks. They call it break and trail.
So there are over 300,000 known gotaways since October 1st. So the projection for fiscal 23 would be approximately 1.2 million known gotaways. So you take the 2.9 and the 1.2 million, we're talking about over 4 million illegal aliens getting into this country.
Not the black alien, y'all.
No, he's
from France.
Other than restaurants in Denham Springs. So those are known gotaways. So how many more people are getting through that are not known that we don't get? So if we know about 4, then, it could be 5 million or more coming in this year. And so, why is that so important? Why should we all care? I mean, there are a number of things that are really concerning here. Again, not to get political, but the number of people apprehended over the last few years that were, at the time of their apprehension, on the U.S. terror watch list. So these are people who are known terrorists who are apprehended on our border, coming in, again, southern border. In 2020, there were 3. In 2021, there were 15. In 2022, there were 98 people on the terror watch list that attempted entry through the southern border. That's a scary number.
Only takes one fly a plane into a building.
Right. And so far this fiscal year, there have been 38, which would project to about 150. So it looks like that number is going to grow again. The House Committee on Homeland Security wrote on January 23rd, feuding cartels are turning the U.S.-Mexico border into a war zone. An unprecedented number of people on the terrorist watch list are attempting to cross the border, and all semblance of law and order has been lost. Reckless policies are responsible for Border Patrol logging the highest number of migrant encounters for 1 month ever on record in December of 2022. So in the month of December, over 250,000 people illegally crossed that border.
That's crazy.
Let's talk about fentanyl for a second. In 2020, almost 4,800 pounds, of fentanyl was seized by people attempting to come through the border illegally. In 2021, that number rose to over 11,000 pounds of fentanyl coming across the border. In 2022, that number was almost 15,000 pounds of fentanyl coming across the border. Year to date, again, fiscal year 23, almost 9,400 pounds, which projects to over 37,000 pounds, more than 7 times what was being trafficked through the border in 2020. In 2022, I know this is a lot of numbers. Here's the most important one. In 2022, more than 75,000 Americans died from overdose of synthetic opioids, mainly fentanyl. Fentanyl is the number 1 killer of adults 18 to 45 in the United States. And so
it's not only that, Mike. I remember when we've had first cases of it way back in when, and we didn't even know what it was. But the fire departments, the EMS people, even cops now have to carry the Narcan and different things, or whatever it is that counteracts it. They are getting some small town departments. I was watching one, something about it out of Virginia this weekend, in the small, like a Livingston Parish-sized county, where we're doing like 20 overdoses a day. Now you're tying up your emergency services, you're burning the gas and everything else, and all this shit is coming from somewhere. Obviously, it's coming from across the border. Not to say that you know what, that everybody is not a rapist and fentanyl dealers and shit like that, but we do have legal access channels for you to come through, and that's why they call it illegal when you do that. But when you're coming in and you're on the terrorist watch list, or you're coming in and you're hauling in however many 60 pounds or kilos of fentanyl on your back or whatever, then that's a shame, and nobody thinks about it.
It's pretty scary. And when you think about the potential of 37,000 pounds crossing that border, compared to 5,000 in 2020.
Let me give you an example. Billy Amy, he and I used to serve with the LPSO together, and he went to Baton Rouge City. He was on a traffic stop, went to search a vehicle for drugs, touched a small amount of white powder and it knocked him out immediately. They had to take him to the hospital. They couldn't. This was when fentanyl was first coming out. They couldn't figure out what was wrong. And once they figured it out, they gave whatever it is that counteracts it. That's specs. You're talking about thousands and thousands of pounds, which they're cutting with other drugs. So whatever.
It's pretty unbelievable. And it's hard to understand how this is a political issue. I think that the data speaks for itself. There should be no politics about. No one in the United States would want 100 people on the terrorist watch list coming across the border to do who knows what while inside our country.
If the Chinese were coming across with another balloon that had missiles on it, would stop it. You know, to me, this is an attack. I mean, it's certainly a crime because they're breaking the immigration laws. And if you bring in over dope and all that, but to me, it's an attack on America, period. And it's not political. I don't give a shit what party you're in. It's like a migraine. Everybody knows about the situation, but until you experience it and you're actually going through it, you don't really get it. If it's one of your people that died from this fentanyl or one of these terrorists kills whoever they kill and you know somebody that they murder, then maybe you'll look at it differently. Maybe you'll wake up.
Hey guys, I got a subscription to the Advocate, not to get the paper sent to the house. I don't do physical paper, but the online.
I just got my bill
Advocate.
from yesterday.
Did you?
$17.
Well, it wasn't yesterday, but it was just a few days ago. I went online and I saw a big ass story with the heading, Bloody Angola Draws Major Love. Podcast duo tells story of Bloody Angola.
Yeah, it's pretty special.
That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I've heard of that show.
me too.
Oh, you guys are being all modest. This guy that wrote the article, I mean, even for diehard fans of detective and crime fare, Bloody Angola has to come with expectations of what early movie promotions would frequently call a spine-tingling tale, and the presentation offered under that gruesome title did not disappoint. Bloody Angola is the name of a two-man presentation about the Louisiana State Penitentiary that for decades has been considered one of the most dangerous and fearsome prisons in America. Despite the title, the show, delivered with conviction by Woody Overton and Jim Chapman, proved to be a popular draw when it was presented January 13th at the Southeastern Livingston Center in Walker.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody coming out. We appreciate the Advocate for putting out the story, and we love doing Bloody Angola live, and hopefully we'll be doing many more.
Yeah,
right. What do you ever do?
It was great. Mike got to bring his beautiful bride and see Jim and I do live for the first time. But there'll be many, many more of that. Y'all go listen to Bloody Angola. It's different in Real Life Real Crime Daily, different in Real Life Real Crime, but to me, it's very, very interesting, the history, the insights into a place that's just infamously notorious throughout its 142, now 143-year history.
All right, we have a new segment here on Bloody Angola. Boom. Shit. All right, we have a new segment here on Real Life Real Crime Daily, and we call this our Criminal Masterminds. So we're going to give you a segment every now and then featuring criminal masterminds, and we're going to tell you about one right now. Police say guilt was written all over their faces. They received a call Friday night that two men with hooded sweatshirts and painted faces had tried to break into a man's home in Carroll, Iowa. Now, when police stopped a vehicle matching the caller's description just a few blocks away, they were stunned by the men's disguises. There were no ski masks, no stockings pulled over their heads. Instead, Matthew Allen McNeely and Joey Lee Miller streaked their faces with Sharpies, y'all. Black Sharpies.
Permanent markers.
You would never figure out who they were because they were streaked up. And the picture, look, go Google this. The pictures are beautiful. You got to check them out. Now, Carroll Police Chief told CNN the strange disguises made it actually easier for the officers. So they had the opposite effect of what they should have had. We're very skilled investigators, and the black faces gave them away right from the start, he said jokingly. I have to assume the officers were kind of laughing at the time. I've never heard of coloring your face with permanent marker.
I want to know, how high do you have to be to color your face with a permanent marker? Or probably,
I would say pretty high.
They did it to each other.
Yeah. And it wasn't like they drew a mustache or goatee or something. I mean, they like scribbled their face
colored
up.
in the line, in between the lines, black faces with, whatever.
Yeah. So Kaler said the police believe one of the alleged burglars targeted the home because he suspected his girlfriend had a relationship with the man who lived there. I'm sure she was proud. They probably were just not thinking straight and figured we'll go out and scare the guy or whatever. They were being dumb and combined that with alcohol, and it was the perfect storm.
And there you have it.
So both men were charged with attempted burglary, and McNeely was charged additionally with operating a vehicle while intoxicated. I wonder if there's a law on operating a vehicle while marked up with a Sharpie. They may need to look into that.
I wonder when they got put in the jail cell and they painted their face black, how that went over.
Yeah. So in the biggest shock of the case, the lawyers for the two men could not be reached for comment. I would imagine not.
Dang it, Mike, what's the
True
story
story.
we did where they gave
should,
out the public defender's number? Yeah.
Stupidity should be a crime. I mean, that's
I always say
True
prisons
story.
are full of dumbasses. It's hard to catch a smart.
You only get facts on RLRC Daily.
Right.
And that's a fact.
Look it up. They probably could have taken a lesson from the black alien. But, with the
That's right.
face markings.
Dude, they can make a good trio.
Right.
Three.
I'm going to reach out to that guy. I'm going to see if we can get him on the show.
Yeah, let's do that.
We appreciate y'all listening to Real Life Real Crime Daily. You can find us on the Real Life Real Crime feed that you already get Real Life Real Crime. And until next time, I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Woody Overton.
And I'm Mike Agovino.
For Real Life Real Crime Daily, peace.
Show business.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.